Hi, boys and girls. Today and tomorrow we're going to be working on relative pronouns. And so I'm going to go through this PowerPoint with you, show you kind of what relative pronouns are, how to pick which relative pronoun you're going to use, and then we'll do some practice ones. I think we have about 5 practice ones to do. And then you're going to be responsible for doing a worksheet about relative pronouns. So here we go. First of all, we have 5 relative pronouns. We have who, whose, whom, which, and that. And what is a pronoun in general? And you should probably know what a pronoun is already, but it's a word that takes place of a noun. So for example, it has the kittens ate their food. If I wanted to replace the kittens, I would just write the word they. Same thing if I wanted to say Frank ate all the spaghetti. If I wanted to replace Frank, I could use he ate all of the spaghetti. And your pronouns are normally, they're he, she, they, them, her, their, all of the it's a pronoun as well. So all of those are pronouns that you can use to replace a noun. But what is a relative pronoun? And as you can see here, it says a relative pronoun links and introduces a relative clause to another part of a sentence. They relate back to something or someone else. And that first sentence is really, really confusing. So I want you to focus on that second sentence. They relate back to something or someone else. So for example, it says Jane, who visits frequently, did not come today. And you might not need to add who visits frequently. If we took that out, the sentence would still make sense. It would say Jane did not come today. But it adds, it relates back or it adds to the sentence. Jane, who visits frequently, did not come today. Well, for you, that could be, if I was telling you that, you would want to know that she visits frequently because it's probably surprising that she didn't show up to wherever she was going. So again, it kind of adds a little bit of extra information to your sentence. So let's go look at some of the relative pronouns. The first one we have is who. And your example here is Caroline, who loves to read, picked out her book. And again, it's just that extra. We're using who because we're talking about Caroline. Whose, the boy, whose dog was loose, ran quickly. With whose, it's showing, you need to use something that shows possession. So the boy owns a dog. That's why we're using the word whose. We have whom. We have the teacher chose someone whom she thought was responsible. And that's referring, the whom is referring to someone she thought was responsible. We have that. Davis did all the homework that his teacher assigned to him. That is referring to the homework. And we have which. And your example is the homework, which was hard, took 2 hours to complete. So the which is the extra information about the homework. We could have said the homework took 2 hours to complete, but this is kind of giving you a little bit more information about why it took 2 hours to complete. It was hard. So they said which was hard. They're describing the homework. And there's a little chart here to show you kind of when you should use each. So you're using who or whom when you're talking about people. Same with whose, but with whose you can use people, things, or ideas. Which for things or ideas, and that for people, things, or ideas. But with who and whom, you're just talking about people. You wouldn't use it for ideas or things. And who and whom can get very, very tricky. So listen to this kind of quickly. And you can refer back to these slides on a separate folder. That way it can help you when you're doing any of your activities. So we use who when you can replace the pronouns I, she, he, we, and they. So if they're using I, she, he, we, they, then you want to use whom. So this is the woman who jumped in the pool. She jumped in the pool. So if I could say who jumped in the pool, she jumped in the pool, you're going to use who. For whom, if you can replace it using me, her, him, us, or them, then you can use whom. So they have found the woman whom escaped. If I wanted to restructure it, I could say they have found her. That makes sense. It wouldn't make sense to say they have found she or they have found I. We wouldn't want to use who there. And next up I have this flow chart that also is in a separate file for you to kind of look through. And this flow chart can help you. Looking here that is it essential or not essential, you might think it is essential or not essential. For this one, I would focus on more so which one makes the most sense. So as you're going through, if it's not a person, you click and you go through and you say, well, no, it's not a person, it's a book, and you think it's still essential, but which makes more sense, then pick which. Because sometimes you have to look at the sentence. Is it making sense with one of my relative pronouns? So let's try some. So I have the book. So if I'm looking at my little flow chart, I have it here next to me. Is it possessive? Does it show ownership? And the book blank I got from the library is due tomorrow. No, the book's not owning anything. So is it a person? No. Is it essential or not essential? Well, let's pretend we're not sure. I'm not sure, so I have to use that or which. So I already can get rid of these, and my only other option is that. The book that I got from the library is due tomorrow. So my answer would be C. Let's try the next one. We walked past the house in blank I grew up. So let's see. Is it possessive? Is it showing ownership? Well, not really. Nobody's owning anything. Is it a person? No. So again, here we're back to that essential or not essential. And again, let's pretend I don't know. So I'm going to get rid of whose. I don't need that one anymore. But I still have which and that. So let's just put them in, plug them in the sentence to see which one makes the most sense. We walked past the house in which I grew up or in that I grew up. The one that would make the most sense is which. So your choice would be, your correct answer would be A. The man restaurant burned down was very sad. So let's see, is it possessive? Do we think the man owns the restaurant? I would say yes, it is probably the man's restaurant. So then we should use whose. So your answer for this one should be B. And let's think, the man whose restaurant burned down yesterday was very sad. That makes sense. The man which restaurant burned down? The man that restaurant burned down? Those don't even make sense. So your turn, try the next one. The family blank lives next door, needs a babysitter. And your answers to this one, you should think about it. What do you think is going to be the right answer? And if you said B, good job, you're correct. And our last one here, my teacher blank, I respect, retired last year. Which one would you pick? If you picked A, whom, the teacher, whom I respect, retired last year, you would be correct. Good job, guys.